on issues that come forward. So tonight we have 2 zoning cases, I believe. The way we do this is when we have a case, Kathy Morgan, I think, is here tonight to present the cases. She'll present the cases, then we bring it to the DAB for questions and comments that they have. Then we open it up to the audience for questions and comments, and then we bring it back to the DAB. So it is a business meeting, and that's how we run it. I don't vote. Again, they are advisory to me, so I don't vote until things come to City Council later. And so tonight is the opportunity for the DAB members to give me their input. So we'll start with introductions of the DAB, and if you'll just your name and what neighborhood you live in. So we'll start with Linda.
I'm Linda Matney. I'm with Local Cedar Park Neighborhood Association.
I'm Lorenzo Snyder. I'm with Benjamin Hills and Pleasant Valley Neighborhood Association.
I'm Denise O'Leary Seamer, and I live in Indian Hills, Riverbend.
I am Brandon Finley, and I am your Community Services Representative for District 6.
For one more week.
One more week.
It's the last time Brandon is going to say that.
That's
That's
right.
the last time I'll be saying that.
Sean Rojas, Indian Hills, Riverbend.
Gregory Boyajian, along with Cedar Park. Phil Longagger, Sunflower.
All right, thank you all for being here this evening. As I mentioned, we are on Facebook Live, so when you come up, if you want to speak, we'll ask you to come to the front and give your name, and yeah, and you'll be recorded and so on. So, anyway, first thing, approval of minutes. Any corrections? I would.
We approve this one.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, it's been moved and seconded, Linda and Greg, to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, a lively group tonight.
That's
right. That's right.
Very well.
That's right, that should be. All right. Okay, at this point in the agenda, if there is somebody here who wants to speak on something that is not on our agenda, we'll give you 3 minutes. Anybody here to speak on something that's not on our agenda? Okay, we will move on then. All right, first zoning case. Zoning case 2019-00022.
And where do you want me to stand?
Does it matter?
Nope, not at all.
That side or this side?
That's
Yeah,
fine.
that'll be fine.
I'm Kathy Morgan, Senior Planner for the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. And the first case I have for you is Zone 2019-22. And if you'll remember the first meeting that you had in July, this is the same applicant, case K2 Properties. They took a vacant lot and are building a duplex on it. So it's a request of zoning change from single-family residential to 2-family residential. And it's located on Doris Street. And if any of you got a chance to drive by there, it was a little bit confusing because it looked like there was a vacant, carport next to a vacant lot. And so that carport is part of the project area, the subject site. So that will be torn down, and I gave you a site plot plan, and if you'll notice, that has Sabin Street on it. Since it's the same, he's using the same site plan for the duplex on Doris. So this is something that we have been doing, planning department has been doing in the last couple of years, is allowing TF3 to be introduced into our single family residential areas to help stabilize the neighborhood, take care of vacant lots, that type of thing. This is on an unimproved street, which in that area, that is not uncommon. But staff is recommending approval of the zone change to allow the construction of the one duplex on that site.
Questions for Kathy? And I think the applicant's here, right? Yeah, so any questions for Kathy or the applicant?
So the legal on the plot plan is not to be, that's not this property.
Right, that's
But it's a
correct.
similar size lot.
This is lot, yes, this is lot 3. No, lot 2 on,
It's a
Doris.
It's Fruitvale and
Yeah.
Orchard Park.
right.
Right.
But it's just, yeah, it's the same width and depth and that type of thing. We just used the same, he just used the same plot plan.
Other questions? All right, hello, anyone in the audience like to speak? Do you have anything you wanna add? Anybody else here to speak on this? Okay, anything else? I would entertain a motion then.
Second.
Linda and Denise, any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Right. 6-0. Okay, thank you, okay.
Okay, the next zoning case is zone 2019-27, and this is on West 13th Street, on the north side of West 13th Street, just across, west across the street of Sheridan from the Kennedy Tire Store. And so along the north side of the street, in that block, there are like 3 residences, and then the Olivet Baptist Church property that goes from over to, rather, High Street. So this property fronts 13th across the street, and I believe in your packet, you received a zoning map that shows the red is limited commercial,
Oh,
the
oops.
green
You mean
is-
the black or the gray? It's
Oh,
in black
yeah.
and white.
Oh.
Sorry.
Look at my map.
There we go, yeah. That'll let
So,
see.
so, you can
There you go.
probably see on your map the lots that are outlined. And so then
That's
to
right.
the east of that is limited commercial. This is the church property that goes over to High Street. There are a couple of single-family houses still on the south side of 13th Street, but this is an area that's going toward, commercial. And the brown part down there is where there are, apartments and the, senior living apartment. And so, we are recommending, staff is recommending, with the conditions, let's look at the conditions and make sure I have everything covered. Okay, there aren't any specific conditions with this, but it abuts up to single family on the north side, so there will have to be screening there, a screening requirement, which is what our zoning codes require, or our zoning code requires. So staff is recommending approval, and I will answer any questions. Yes, Bill?
Are we gonna have this replatted or platted within a year as one of the conditions? Is that just open-ended?
Well, it's already platted, so it's not something,
Well, parts of it.
parts of it. Okay, then I'm gonna let the agent for the applicant answer that. If there's parts of it that are unplatted, typically the planning department does require that they
Are you the
plat.
agent? Are you the agent?
Yes.
Okay, so you, give us your
Kim
name.
Edgington with Cobb Valley Engineering, the agent for the applicant. And we understand that since parts of the property are not platted, that before this would convert to any kind of commercial use, that it may not be this current owner, but if he, sells the property, then, eventually it will have to be platted to be built on commercially. Glad to answer any other questions.
So, for my own understanding, I couldn't understand, do each one of the separate plots become like commercial? Or does the whole thing become one piece of property like commercial?
No, it's,
Limited
for
commercial.
those parcels that are platted, and I don't know which of these are unplatted, but that whole area becomes limited commercial. And if it's not platted, then before anybody can come in and get a building permit on that for commercial use, then they have to go through that, it's a one-step plat.
It'd be a one-step
Yeah.
So it's
Well, the
just,
zoning wouldn't be completed till it was platted. It would still remain the zoning it is, because we
Yeah,
have
on
a
that
legal.
one unplatted parcel
So
unless,
there's only one unplatted parcel?
Well, there's two. There are three of them are platted and the three to the east are the platted lots.
So, I mean, the zoning would remain the same until they were platted.
yeah, and we can put that in the recommendation, in the staff report. This
And I-
goes,
Typically, here recently, we haven't been putting a platting requirement just because of the time frame. It may be 5 years or 10 years
Oh, yeah,
before
that's true.
gets developed, so,
You can't get a building permit.
Right,
until
right, we
it's
can't
changed.
get
a
Right,
building-
and platted, and the
That's
zoning
correct.
isn't done till it's platted.
right,
well, the zoning would still be in effect. It would be rezoned to limited commercial, so that all the neighboring property owners understand that the
Right.
property is commercially zoned.
But the final ordinance wouldn't be recorded until it was platted.
Well, here recently, we've been recording the ordinances.
yes.
And then we can't get a building permit though until the property is platted.
But then you have to send the ordinance back to city council with the proper legal description, which would have rather than meets and bounds, would have a
Well,
lot.
we can do the ordinance with the meets and bounds description. We can do a zoning ordinance with a meets and bounds description.
Okay, I understand that,
Yeah.
but, typically it's not completed until it's platted, because you need platted to get a building permit.
Well,
Right.
it's, the way we've been doing this recently is that when we do the ordinance, we would put in that language of the ordinance that a building permit cannot be issued until platting is complete. And that way we don't have,
We're not tying stuff up
yeah,
indefinitely.
yeah,
It's-
because platting, you have to plat within 3 years.
But Neil would eventually have to get an ordinance that reflected the new legal description, which would be the platted legal description.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have, it would just go back and be changed on the official GIS map, that wouldn't,
It would be changed on the ordinance.
well, if he has to get an ordinance for the platting,
I don't think that's changed. You still have to have a final legal description. If you got unplatted property, you need a final legal description. That's a lot, block, and subdivision.
Well, right now, our final legal description is the meets and bounds description of the property.
I understand,
Right,
but that's not a permanent legal description.
right, but I guess, the disconnect here is that in the last, is it 2 years? The
yeah,
planning commission has not been requiring platting as a condition of a zone change.
Okay.
it's just at the time that they go to get a building permit, that platting process has to be completed.
So the reality is, it's gonna have to be platted.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Like the zoning.
Right.
yeah. I think the reason for that is because you had a lot of parcels that may be hanging out there that aren't showing up on the zoning map that had been approved for a zone change.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Probably because there's a lot of speculative zoning.
Right.
Right.
What's gonna happen to this property?
Right, so, in this case, there's not really any way to say what that time frame would be. And so this way, everybody that, lives around there or develops around there is aware that this has been changed to limited commercial. So it's more of a disclosure issue.
And we have had we've had no phone calls, objection about the change of this property to, limited commercial. And received no letters either, so.
Other questions?
I have,
go ahead.
okay,
Greg.
I have several, okay.
Before men.
One is, what is meets and bounds?
Well, it's a way of describing the legal description for the property, where you start at a point at the beginning, and you describe either a distance and a direction, and it basically makes a boundary and gives a legal description of the property. If a property is platted, you will describe it differently. It would have a lot, for example, lot 1, block 2, McCall addition. You wouldn't have to go through all of the measurements and directions that you would in a meets and bounds description. And when you plat a property, there's a lot more that goes into it. Surveying the property, dedicating easements, dedicating any additional right-of-way, access controls, all of those things are part of a plat. So those are gonna be required before the property can get developed commercially.
Okay, thank you. And the next item I had, when I went to planning and looked into this, originally, the notice I got, and Gregory and another neighborhood association person got, it said it was the northeast corner. And we found that it should have been the northwest.
West, yeah.
So if any neighbors were to be concerned about it, they wouldn't have known that that is the property.
They were all still notified, because the notification area was based on the legal description of the property, not the general description of
Okay.
the property.
So the people that are behind there
Yes,
on
they all
Nantucket.
received notices,
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other question I have is, if the property is now zoned LC, LC opens the property up for a lot of different types of enterprises. And so if we say, yes, this is going to be LC, then we give up our right to, let's say if a recycling center wants to go in there, because that's listed under LC.
Is it listed as a condition?
No.
It
No.
depends on what kind of recycling
But there's all,
center it
yeah,
is.
but there's all kinds of uses, and so if we say, yes, this is LC, then, the neighbors wouldn't have any rights if it's going to be, something that would be very distracting or very noisy, disturbing to them.
There's a lot of the uses that just strictly based on the size of the property.
Yes.
It's only just over 2.5 acres. That in itself is very limiting.
Correct.
As to what
Yes.
could be put on there. And several of the other more, whatever I want to say, intensive uses, like car lots are not allowed. That would
Correct,
be a conditional
correct.
use. Restaurants with drive-throughs are gonna be conditional use because of the proximity of residential. Any kind of self-storage, because there's residential right behind that, is gonna be a conditional use. So that would require another layer of review. So,
Would that be the same for a cell tower?
Yes,
yes. Yeah, it would have to go through it.
yeah, cell towers,
Yeah.
regardless of where they're located, have to go through
Right, a special review
Yeah.
process, so it would not just by right be allowed for that, so. Like I said, right now with this property being as small as it is going to be fairly confined. I think that the property owner is looking at marketing it for,
Yeah.
office type use, or maybe a very small strip center. There's not a whole lot more that's gonna really, you've got Kennedy Tire kind of right next door there too, maybe a use similar to that, but, and, you've got some, the church, so that it's gonna be limiting quite a bit what could be on there.
So if the property is zone limited commercial, the value of it goes up.
It does.
If the
It depends.
property is put up for sale.
If it's put up for sale, right now, the appraiser's office will assess it at how it's being used. And right now, there are homes on it, that are rental properties, so, but once that property becomes marketed, and that can change that tax appraisal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in future development of the property, what is put in place to allow for, the redevelopment of the sidewalk?
That has to be done according to what the current, development standards are for that street. That will be done as part of the plating process. That's on an arterial. It would have to have some kind of landscaping along 13th Street.
And the sidewalk would be then, the current sidewalk would be set back from the street then? And I'm not looking at it if things are just staying, I'm looking at it from buildings are torn down, new building is put up, the sidewalk going from, I think it's Sheridan
To Hyde.
To the west.
200 feet to the west approximately, cuts right up against the street right now.
Right.
Well, and that's during the plating process, that's where they could then come back and say, you need to dedicate
So much.
some additional,
Right.
footage for right of way, and then that
And
would.
make a connection with the
Existing one.
Yeah.
sidewalk onto the west. That will be part of the plating, you know, where that sidewalk gets put in, where the curb cuts are. All that will have to be decided through that plating process. And then, you know, if there are parking lots, there'll be required parking lot screening so that.
I didn't
you know,
understand, when I was looking, I couldn't find anything about how sidewalks had to be placed. I could only find the description of what sidewalks had to look like and all those things, and that's why I was asking.
That'll be done through the plating process.
So, the obvious question, all these properties are owned by the same person or
Yes, they
same
are.
company? Okay. Are there any that are gonna be demolished in the near term?
There's not planned right now, but some of those houses are in a bad state of
And I'm thinking particularly one to the farthest to the
to
west.
the west, yeah, that is renter occupied at this time.
Even with the roof
No,
missing?
that one's
Or
not.
not that, I'm sorry,
Not
not,
the furthest
not the
one.
farthest,
Furthest
the
one to
next
the west,
one, yeah.
probably needs to be taken down.
I was thinking the next one
That's
over on
fine.
the park, I
Yeah.
apologize, it is the next one over is renter occupied, so, and that's why, that's basically why we're here, is, you know, the property owner has gotten to a point where it just doesn't make a lot of sense to keep putting money into these houses that are very marginal.
Fair enough.
You know, there's not a lot of demand for people that wanna live right on 13th Street, so.
I mean, it sounds to me like, with a few exceptions, this would be an improvement, so I am for it, but asking questions from the perspective of making sure we understand.
Absolutely,
you know,
right,
So,
yeah.
I have, now this area would be one of the areas that was indicated on the Wichita Places for People plan. That
Okay.
would be, so that would be one thing, to be considered when you were talking about sidewalks and.
Right, and as, you know, as you understand that, that's a policy
Yes,
document, and so it gives direction, and the planning commission considers those things when they, you know, probably at the point that they do the platting, if that plan is adopted by them. So you have to remember, it's a policy and not the same as an ordinance.
I think my one concern is it's zoned LC, but there's all these options that could be put in that area.
yeah, but the options are limited by, the surrounding neighborhood being so close to residential area, being so close to the church. That limits a lot of the things that can be asked for.
Right,
I mean, even to the extent, I guess the one that I would be concerned about, but they're there already, would be a liquor store. I believe that would probably be something that could be put in that would fall under that. But anything associated with sex-oriented business, SOBs, that's not gonna even
It's
show up.
automatically excluded because of the
Yes.
proximity of the church.
Yeah, in residential areas and things like that. So when one looks at that from that perspective, the other items, they have to come back to conditional use. So from looking at it from that perspective, I didn't see anything really out of place that's not already there.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying, yeah.
I drive by this a million times a day, so I should know this, but
Why not?
it's hard to, you mentioned that it was small, but to me, if this was like one business, is this comparable to some of the other businesses that are on 13th? Is there something that's similar in size? It's just kind of hard to tell with the, from the
big
scale.
will be?
That'd be, I think that's
Yeah.
large.
Cause that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
like
is.
where the dry cleaners and that, it's way larger
Yeah.
than this site,
okay.
Yes, it is.
yeah,
That'd be one of the more intense sites in the area.
Yeah.
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 Cause this would be where that dry cleaner strip, and I don't remember what all else is in
Dry
there.
cleaner, coffee shop,
Shop.
which used to
Well,
be
no,
McDonald's.
it's Morgan's Dry Cleaning,
Yes.
and then there's a laundry.
And the haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're, you and I are thinking of the same one, there's,
Yeah.
the Jamaican food
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
front,
Yeah.
that's far larger than this parcel.
Yes.
But just
Yeah.
west of that, on the other side of the church there, just west of that, there's the little coat, where are
Well, you got Dylan's out there too,
Yeah,
that's all.
but there's-
I'm saying.
but the
That's
little-
what
the
it is.
little-
It's
the
just-
little
it is
place
on- They
there.
are on the corner, but a lot of LCUs inches display.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. It was hard to picture with the residential property, so thank you.
You know, I agree with Joel, the proximity to residential zoning, which is budding at the church. Any of the conditional uses that would be, eligible for consideration would have to face the reality of being right, having single family as the neighbors in a church would make something like a bar pretty hard to put in there.
Yeah, it'd have to
Or,
be,
you know,
have to be
it-
a restaurant,
Drive with a
Dog kennel,
window,
perfect place for a
drive
dog
through
kennel.
restaurant.
No, dog kennel, because of its proximity to,
would not be allowed.
would not be,
it would have to be.
It'd be-
Is it-
it'd have to be a conditional use, and I think that would probably create some,
It's too close to single family, too
Yeah.
many single family.
Yeah.
right,
And didn't we also have the issue of size that you need for, I mean, that was what we butted up
Yeah,
this last time, is
right.
the size that you need for a dog.
and,
kennel.
Yeah, but-
yeah, there are a bunch of conditions
For
that
that small.
they would have to go through even to begin
It's
to
supposed to be
request a
5 acres,
conditional
it's
use
2.5,
for an
so they-
indoor
I think it was about
dog
6.
kennel.
Yeah, liquor stores would be out, taverns would be out,
A liquor store's be in by right, that's
Well,
retail.
that's right now, but.
Liquor store.
That's why I was saying.
Yeah, but
bar.
a tavern, yeah, just a tavern
Tavern
would
itself
not
would
be,
not, but
Not a
liquor
drinking
store.
But
establishment.
you could have a
Could.
full-service restaurant, like
yes.
an Applebee's or something like that.
But served alcohol, but
I mean,
was a
Dillon's and
restaurant.
Indian Hills and the smaller strip centers are the most intense uses I can see. We've got self-storage, which is pretty quiet, actually.
That's
We
true.
got car wash, which you have to have a conditional use on this side also. So anything that you're gonna bring traffic, that's gonna be having some type of circulation or some type of entertainment that could get rowdy, that's generally speaking, you're gonna have to come before this board for a hearing, and then hopefully they'll go before the planning department on the Wednesday development review to get an idea of just, is this appropriate or not according to what the community standards are, the way staff reads it.
And the liquor store is very unlikely due to the large liquor store that's on the corner there at 13th and
Right.
West. You have a very large liquor
Kinda
store there that you'd be
saturated.
in competition with, so
But
it
again,
would-
it'd be there by.
could
right,
happen.
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
it means forever and ever and ever and ever.
And the other thing too, Bill, you mentioned about the restaurants that have, less than 50% alcohol sales, they're gonna be limited by the size of the building and the required parking,
Yeah.
for that site, so it, probably an Applebee's, that's too much, but,
Parking's gonna impact everything
Yeah.
on
Right.
this side.
Yes.
Get that landscaping and setbacks, because you're gonna have compatibility setbacks on the north side here too, which is gonna be a minimum of 20 feet the way
Yeah.
you set.
Right.
I'm okay with it,
Just wanna make me earn my money.
That's right. Any other questions from the board right at this point?
That was recorded.
That's right. Denise, anything else?
No, ma'am.
Anybody? All right, we'll take it. Anybody in the audience want to comment on this?
I'd just like to say something. My name's Melvin Thorpe.
Can you come up? I think, can I get you to,
338 West 13th Street, which I was raised in that neighborhood, and I'm fond of it. It's changed so much. I want to see the neighborhood be a better use, to be something more attractive for our city. I'm a business owner here and have been for 43 years. I just want to improve this property and make it a better use than what it is. I just see it kind of crumbling, and I'm emotionally tied to it a little bit, but not to the point that all my good memories are gone. I would like to see it be something better, something that is improving the neighborhood, and that's my whole goal. The houses are starting to crumble. They're not worth putting a lot of money into. Never recover that money. It's hard to get renters to, you know, be good renters in those kind of houses. I just would like to see it go to a better use.
thank you. Anybody else?
I have a question. Is that an old chicken house that's back there?
Yes, it is.
I've
Howard
always
Dow.
admired that.
Howard Dow was our next door neighbor. My grandma lived in the house just east of us, and he was allowed to have chickens at that time. And I got to go out and do chores with him and fix the chicken, you know, get the chickens out in the morning and put them to bed at night. And he had a nice garden. He's got a peony patch there that's going downhill, but you know, with me running my business, I have a dental laboratory here, American Dental Arts. I'm pretty busy. I don't have a lot of time to put into this property, and I just see it kind of just melting away. And it's, to me, I just like to see it improved and be something useful for our city. I don't want to, I've had such, Reverend Dorian was such a good friend of mine at the Olivet Baptist Church. I mean, I've got no intentions of doing anything that would offend the church.
That
Thank
chicken
you.
house was really nice at one time. Those chickens.
He had all kinds of chickens. He had pheasants and turkeys.
Oh my
and ducks.
gosh.
He had little banty hens that he would get to sell any kind of an egg. And those little banty hens, it didn't matter what kind of egg it was, they'd sit on that thing and hatch it out. I got a great experience. It was really funny to see, you know, ducks come out from underneath the banty hen. The first thing you do is go over and get in a pail of water and swim, and the little hens running around just all excited.
Thank you. All right, anything else from the board? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I would like to entertain a motion to approve the project.
Okay. Second, so Lorenz and Linda. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you, Kathy. All right, issues of concern, anything to report? Anybody?
I will say, just to let Greg know what you had brought up previous, the graffiti. It is recognized, it's being looked at, it's more difficult to remove than standard graffiti because you can't just paint over it.
Where's it at?
It's the one across from Indian Hill Swimming Pool, and it's actually painted on the concrete structures that look like fish, that are carved to look like fish.
Oh, I saw that.
So Kathy, who's our resident graffiti expert, is working towards getting it removed, but it's not as simple as a paint over or whatnot, so it takes time.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that update. Thank you, Kathy.
You bet.
Any neighborhood reports? So neighborhood night out, we'll have another meeting before then, but neighborhood night out is August 13th. So if your neighborhoods are thinking about participating, make sure you get signed up. I do my best to make it to every one of those in my district, so.
Is it, then you're supposed to have it on August 13th? Okay.
To be, well,
She's
you
not
can
gonna
have
come
it.
on August 14th.
Trying to lose the weekend before the weekend first happens.
Yeah, the ones that you sign up with the city to let them know, those are on August
Okay.
14th. Yeah, you can have it anytime you want.
Just not gonna show
in my
us.
neighborhood, they gave me the cooler, which represents you have to hold it, so.
Oh, there you
I'm in
go.
charge now, so I better figure something out.
All right,
Well, that's a good way to take turns, hand over the cooler.
hand over the cooler. That's right.
That's good.
All right.
Sean.
Couple of other announcements. So some of you, I think we've talked a little bit about the Civic Engagement Academy that we hold here at Evergreen. So we got some really good news on that. We have one more session left under the Kansas Health Foundation's grant, and we found a way in the city to fund that into infinity, as long as we want to hold it. So we will continue to hold that. We also just got news this week that we won an award with the League of Kansas Municipalities for that program, and we will be in, I'll be in Kansas City in October to accept that award and make a little presentation on that. And our fall session begins October 2nd, so anyone that is interested in that. So you all got a preview of that tonight, because that's on the mayor's media briefing tomorrow. So you all got the preview tonight of that. So fall session begins October 2nd and runs for 8 weeks. So if you know of anyone who's interested, I don't think anybody, Matt's been through it, so he can tell you what that's like. Sean's helped us. He can tell you. Brandon's facilitated it, so he can tell you. So if you're interested or you know someone that's interested in, talk to them. As I mentioned before we began the meeting, this is Brandon's last week, so his last DAB meeting as a community service rep. He probably will have to come back some other time, I suppose, on some issue, right?
Sit on that side of the aisle.
That's right.
Yeah.
His last day is July 23rd, so a week from yesterday. That's right. So we wish him well. Brandon's going to go work at the Greater Wichita Partnership in Economic Development. So, Brandon, anything you want to add?
Just that it's been a pleasure working with you all over the last few years and getting to know you and working on community projects like this. I think you're all very conscientious about your job, and you do a great job of protecting the community and making sure that good uses are put to use for the different planning projects that come before you and the presentations that come before you. And it's just been a pleasure. It's been my honor. So thank you for having me and working with me.
Thank you, Brandon.
I'd like to just commend Brandon on the Civic Engagement Academy. And I know Cindy and even Janet, you all have been instrumental, but I think it's a cool capstone for Brandon as he leaves, and they get an award for that.
Yeah.
So I think that's really neat. And I know you cared a lot about that, Brandon, and did a lot of work on that. So I think that's really neat, and it'll be something that lives well beyond your time here. So thank you for contributing that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, Sean.
So the position, Brandon's position is, the applications for those are open until July 26th. So if you have anyone that you think would be interested in that, have them go out to the wichita.gov HR and apply for that community service rep. If they have any questions, they can contact me. I'm happy to talk, or Brandon, because he's
absolutely.
got the most experience in it. So
I've been fielding calls for the last few days about that.
So I'd like to see a nice pool of applicants. So.
So
All
will
right.
you be working for the city still, or is this a
This is a
private company?
nonprofit that works hand in hand with both the city and the county and the region on economic development projects and whatnot. So business retention and expansion for the region. So, yeah. It's gonna be So I will be back and forth to City Hall and to the county building, and we're still working in a quasi-governmental fashion. I would imagine to be a way to put it. So yeah.
Kind of an NGO?
Yeah, it's like an NGO. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Comment?
Yes, side comment.
E-scooters are big on a bike path or the trail path going around the river.
They are.
Can't miss them.
I know. They were really popular the first day. Today, I didn't see quite as many out today, but still a lot, yes.
Yeah, I've seen a lot riding around.
We'll see. There are some rules on those which people are going to have to learn. So they're not supposed to ride them on the sidewalks.
They've been struggling downtown a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, right in front of our building, you'll see people's heads flying by.
Right,
Yeah,
like
so it's a little scary.
Yeah. So They are supposed to ride them on the streets or in bike lanes or on bike paths, and they, if they're on the street, they cannot be on streets that are 40 mile an hour or higher.
So they can't ride them on bike path?
They can ride them on a bike path, yes.
A side note to that is that there are a lot of overhanging branches.
Yeah.
And so someone needs to consider now from more of a safety perspective.
Yeah, what to
Because
do,
there is some way-
forestry out and.
Because now, in a way, they are indirectly connected to the city because the city is collecting money from them, right? So it's just
Yeah.
not an individual on their own bike.
Yeah, that's true. We, so this is a pilot program. It's a 1-year pilot, so we can tweak it throughout the year, but we certainly, at the end of the year, we'll do an evaluation. We'll make sure forestry gets that message that maybe they ought to look at trimming some of those because they become a hazard to people, so.
How's the bicycle rentals going?
Really well. They have increased year over year. They increase every month. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, very, very popular, very, very popular.
That's good.
Cindy, can you tell us what city you all looked at that was similar to us that kind of helped you decide on this
On
company?
scooters,
Yeah.
I can't, but I could ask Director Tan that if he could and let you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
just curious about, well, maybe I could find it with that company, but I wonder if I'd be curious about it.
We looked at several, and we
Okay.
really looked at some of the lessons learned at other places, so that we would avoid the problems that they have.
Okay.
But I'll ask him for specific cities
Okay.
that they looked at.
Folks, I will let you know that your fellow DAB member, Mr. Matt Brown, is watching from Arizona. Let's see here. Amy said, "Good job, Brandon." Amy Basham. Ty Tabing said, "More density, yay." And Mr. Mike McFerrin is watching. Kirby Commerce says, "Kathy needs a podium." My fellow CSR Rebecca Fields is watching. MABCD rep Shane Hackworth is watching, and Amy Basham also says, "Yay for Civic Engagement Academy."
That's right. That's right. All right. I think if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion. Oh,
There is just one more.
one more thing.
Yes,
Oh,
Brandon,
my
we have a card for you
goodness.
from everybody.
No.
Yeah. I just wanted to tell you that I'm so proud of you. I have known you since we went to school.
That's right.
And I
That's
have
right.
seen you work so hard, and you're just so humble. So I'm just so glad for you.
Thank you, Lorenza. Thank you very much. Yes, Lorenza and I were in the Hugo Wall program together in our master's program, so we go back a long ways. I appreciate that. Am I supposed to open this in front of everybody? You guys trying to make me cry?
Yeah.
If you cry, that's a bonus.
Yes. Aww. Oh, wow, that's awesome. This is great, you guys. Thank you. All right, I'll read it out loud. Persistence is a big, fancy word for never giving up. Determination is just another way of saying no ifs, ands, or buts. And courage is about having the guts to do what needs to be done. You made it happen. Congratulations. Thank you all. That means a lot, everybody.
You have some big shoes to fill. Wow.
They're clown shoes. That's why they're so good.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved and seconded. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, we are adjourned. Our next meeting is August 5th.
August 5th.
The first Monday we will,
6:30.
6:30. August 5th, 6:30 here.